everything that has happened to me is because I've been around people who are 2-3 steps ahead. I'm 100% convinced of that. I interviewed a guy called Ian Hogg, who's like the chairman of the WorkTech group, went and worked for Xerox. When Xerox was like the sales organisation, got best training in the world. 3 years later, he did a £100 million deal with Sky through his own company. So he negotiated, based on that Xerox training, negotiated a £100 million deal with Sky for Sky at the races. He was the first MD of Sky at the races. And he was like, I've never suffered from imposter syndrome. And I was like, fuck yeah, like, I shouldn't suffer from I feel like you should just go and get stuck into it. Like, it's only yourself saying, you can't do it. Why would you do that? They're way smarter than you, or they've got more energy than you, or it's not the right time, you know, you might have a kid again soon, or, you know, there's always something.
I'm Nick Haley, founder of Little Big Tech. After more than a decade in the army, I left and joined civilian life. In this podcast series, I'll be speaking to entrepreneurs who left military service and started the next exciting chapter in their lives. We'll hear how these inspiring individuals transitioned from active service to the world of business. How did they take the first step on the road to becoming an entrepreneur? We'll find out. Welcome to Little Big Vets, the Veteran Entrepreneurs Podcast. My guest on today's podcast, Ben Reed, spent nearly 11 years moving through the ranks of Craftsman, Lance Corporal and Corporal to become a sergeant for the REME, the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, where Ben worked globally on rotary and fixed-wing aircraft for the British Army. As such, he's no stranger to what it takes to succeed in a fast-moving profession which always requires you to be adaptable and keep a clear head. Transitioning out of service and into a B2B tech sales career, Ben used the skills and knowledge he had acquired to found the company Redeployable as a way of giving back to the military community and helping service leavers find rewarding roles like the ones he found within tech sales. Ben, thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on today's podcast. You were in the REME as aircraft tech, so do you want to tell us a bit about why you joined and what life was like doing that job?
Yeah, of course. So I was a bit of a sheep, to be honest. My sister is still serving in the Royal Engineers. She's a regimental sergeant major. My older brother, who's older than my sister, he joined the Royal Artillery when I was young. I think I was 11. So I always had it in the back of my mind to join. Like, it was always something that was in my mind. Went to sixth form, massively immature at that age, you know, 16, 17. Wasn't really putting the work in. So I decided to jump ship after 4 months at sixth form and go and join the army. That's fundamentally the reasons why. There was nothing. I wasn't patriotic in any sense most definitely at that age. So it was a case of going out there and doing something cool like my brother and sister were doing.
You went through the apprentice college, is that right?
I went through Harrogate, 52 weeks at Harrogate, which were, some of the best times. I loved it. It was a 12-man room for 52 weeks, just absolute carnage it was at the time. You know, no alcohol, apparently, no alcohol. But yeah, it was a good experience for me at that time.
And then so you went off, and where was your first posting?
You then go and do phase 2, because what I did when I got into the careers office was you do your little test, don't you? PARB test, I think it's called, and they spit out what you can do, and I did pretty well. So they told me I could be an RMP, and the next step was like avionics, aircraft tech, and I was like, well, you know, I was supposed to be going to university. I might as well try and get a trade out of this. So I picked air tech. So you did your 52 weeks in Harrogate, and then you go and do kind of a longer course in Arborfield in Berkshire, where it happens. I met my wife as well, who I'm still with now. But yeah, you do a longer course. So you're doing things from, you know, theory of flight, advanced mathematics. So it's not a walk in the park. It was pretty challenging kind of time from a, you know, a thinking standpoint, as well as the additional phys you got to do in the army. So
that was an enjoyable course?
Probably say like not at that time in my life. Like, I was all about going out with the, you know, majority lads, some lasses. Like I loved going out into Reading. I was again probably didn't mature up until I was 26, Nick, to be honest. I was a bit of a renegade 26, 27 until I started to mature up a little bit. But I scraped through all of the course. Like I did bare minimum to get through.
Yeah.
But
it's not uncommon though, is it? In on courses like that. So I went through the Royal Signals telecommunications engineering course a year in Blandford, and there was a common theme of people doing just enough to stay on the course. Not necessarily saying that I was one of those, but
I was really lucky that I was good at football. Like, I used to play a lot of core football and army football, and my manager was WO1. We had a football officer who's quite influential major. So I got in the shit a little bit, to be honest, when I was in Aberfield, but managed to stay on course because there were people who were kind of looking after me because of a football perspective. So I'd say I was dragged through it really. If I was to look at it like really look at it and be self-critical of myself, yeah. But it was an amazing time, and I learnt a lot. So
you finished your phase 2, and where did you go after that?
Yeah, Germany, straight to Germany, which obviously carried on that whole theme of.
I've done Germany a couple of times.
Yeah. You like it?
There's a lot of drinking in Germany.
Yeah, it turns out there's a lot of drinking in Germany. We had I don't think the army or the military helped. You know, we had a bar above our block in the attic where we all used to be able to go and use, tax-free alcohol, and there is very much a work hard, play hard environment. The drinking culture is not. I don't think it's there anymore in the military, which is, I don't think, a terrible thing either. But it's very much work hard, play hard. You got thrashed at work. You put the work in, but you definitely enjoy the off time. And Germany was all about that. 19-year-old cutting around Germany, getting down to Berlin, getting to Oktoberfest. Going to see things that and do things that I expect a lot of 19-year-olds can't go and do independently. So. Yeah, it's pretty cool in that sense.
What was the day job out in Germany? What were you actually doing?
Fixing aircraft. So, that's another kind of side to that, is you can't really theoretically be pissed out your head fixing aircraft. So there's always that we needed to consider. But our customer was the Army Air Corps throughout my career. So amongst other kind of SF units, but the Army Air Corps, we need to deliver serviceable aircraft like rotary predominantly, but then fixed wing in Northern Ireland to the Army Air Corps. So we'd be at the Germany age, days I was more of a junior kind of Lance Corporal, getting told what to do. So
did you enjoy it? The job, not the
no.
social life.
I'd say no in terms of the job. I think I'm a bit of a grafter. I know I'm a grafter with my business now and what I did when I got out, but I was always bought into like the leaders. If I've got some pretty prominent people in my life still who were my bosses back then that I would have done anything for. I grafted, but I didn't enjoy it. It was never my calling to fix aircraft. Although I did it for quite a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, then you must have done it actively for something like 9 or 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah, I did just shy of 12 years in total. So 10 years of that, I think 9-10 years of it would have been fixing aircraft. So
why did you stay doing something so long that you didn't necessarily love?
Getting around, seeing places, spending time in Oman, spending time in the US, going to Afghan, the people.
So doing it for the other things that came with it.
The people more than anything. Like my best mates now, 5 years out, are still those people. My first hire in my business is my best mate, who's also happens to be a licensed civilian aircraft engineer, is now doing, working for us. Like, it's the people for me, like, first and foremost. Nothing really to do with the military for me. They give you opportunities, and they made me a more mature, skilled person. Like, a lot of what you ingrained and indoctrinated with kind of carries you over into civilian life. But yeah, it was just a means to an end, I think, from a role perspective.
What made you want to leave?
Yeah, I could give you like loads of detail. I was looking for something else beyond the going out. I was getting to that point in my life where like going out wasn't enough anymore. The social side of it, I needed something else. I managed to get a great posting. Got there, spent 6 months there. It still wasn't for me. Well, my brother went out and got into tech. He's in technology sales as well, senior account exec. So I knew kind of what he was doing, but didn't really know. Went to a party and with all my wife's closest friends, my friends now as well. And one of them was a sixth form PE teacher who just left being a sixth form PE teacher and started selling photocopiers in London. Right? And she just randomly said to me, she'd been doing it for like a year and a half. She said, I think you'd be really good at this. And I kind of knew what my brother went and sold tech. I mean, photocopiers, tech. And so she said, I can set you up with a meeting with my boss if you want. So I was like, yeah, sweet, let's go. So I'd not signed off. I just went and met him in Staines in a pub. You know, we had a chat. He said, yeah, I think you'd be really good. Gave me a verbal that he'd give me a job in a year. So I went in the next day and actually got the guy who I've hired now to do the 7 clicks to sign me off. So Doc, who works for me now, is the guy who actually signed me off of the army. So yeah, I just signed off on verbal, you know, probably a stupid thing, but I feel like I'm a little bit like that. If I get a good feel for somebody and I trust the word. And
I don't know what the 7 clicks is, by the way.
Oh, so seven clicks is...
I left in 2008.
Yeah, 7 clicks is... There's a system called JPA where you can go and sign off. So you don't need to go and speak to anyone. You probably should before you sign off. But there are 7 clicks in JPA to completely sign off of the military. Then everything else that happens thereafter, but you go through the process of clicking 7 times. So Doc did the 7 clicks for me. You know, I went and told hierarchy and then got Doc to sign me off, which is pretty sweet because now we're working together. So
you got to the end of your year's notice and you left. You called the guy back up?
Oh, no. I wouldn't say I was like super proactive in terms of like the education piece before I got out. I was concentrating on this specific opportunity, but I was pestering that guy, you know, like nothing for 12 months. Like it wasn't a case of, yeah, thanks, I'll see you in 12 months. I got a contract through probably 6th month into my termination. But I guess the fact that I didn't have a contract in front of me to sign off, which, you know, is challenging with a year's notice, you know, I think the guy, like, I became a bit of a thorn in his side, I think, till he got me this contract. So, but I got it and started there 9 months, 10 months later.
So during your last year, did you take up much of the resettlement opportunities?
Not zero. You go to CTP, you do that, you'd go and carry... I think it's 3 days, I think, in Aldershot. So it was all right at the time. I wouldn't say I was like fully engaged with the process because I felt like this is where I wanted to go. They give you like a jobs portal and it was suggesting to me like job roles that weren't really what I felt like were a good fit for me.
My biggest memory was going through the process, and I think the first thing that I did was I went to a CV writing workshop that was run, and it was possibly the worst piece of training that I'd ever been on. And the output of it wouldn't have got anyone a job anywhere. I don't think it was horrendous.
I think they've got better since 2008. I think there's been like quite a bit of money sunk into it, but there's still some gripes. It's a tough gig, I think, for them because it's so bloody generic, you know, like how many industry, you know, how many like aptitude levels of people getting out. You've got different ranks, you know, completely different spectrum of people. You've got different skill sets. You've got different education. You've got people coming out with degrees, people coming out with no qualifications, people coming out who's struggling to read and write in some cases. You've just got such a broad spectrum of people. They're never going to be able to service without a lot of money, be able to service people in the most perfect way. So I'm not defending CTP. We're not partnered with CTP anyway. But what I would say is, I think it has got a bit better. But yeah, like a generic CV workshop, like you need to then tailor your CV, don't you? And like trying to figure out whatever industry you're going into. So
then you've left, you've got this contract, and what was it like starting off a civilian job in, what were you selling?
So
photocopiers.
Well, they didn't like calling it photocopiers. They like calling it multifunctional devices. Yeah, you know about this.
Yeah.
You're in the IT game. Multifunctional devices, you know, like serious commodity sell. I had an area in London. You know, I used to drive 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning, up to North London to Highgate. Used to like bunker down in a Costa Coffee. Like it's an hour 15, hour 20 drive. Get down in a Costa Coffee, and then I used to just go and like meet companies and just like go and like.
Hold on, you've jumped ahead a little bit there. Like day one, you've never done this before.
Yeah, all right. So I've gone more into like the weeds of it. Yeah. So I'm a little bit of a fuck it, like let's just get stuck in kind of guy. Like I feel like action is the most important thing. I think you can get bogged down with worrying about things. So I just went into it with a similar military mindset of, I'm going to be wearing a suit, and tie. So I'm going to get a sweet looking suit and tie where, I look good, get in there and just get stuck into whatever they throw at you. So that's exactly the mentality I've always had. I mean, I'm not dressed as smart now, but I'm founder now, we don't dress I'm definitely not in the software industry. Like I don't see many people wearing suits, but at that time it was like, just go and have a bit of confidence in myself that, whatever I don't know, I can get. How many times you've gone to a new unit, you got to figure out new kit, and you go on an equipment course for 2 weeks, or you go, we in aviation, we were having to go posted every 3 years, new full airframe, engines, hydraulic systems, gearboxes, and it's like you've got to figure all that shit out. Then you've got to go and try and fix them, and they'll give you your signatures pretty quick. So you're like, and people are flying in those, and they could crash and die. And it's like, if you really just boil it down, like I'm managing accounts. That's what I did. I was managing accounts for the new company and trying to upsell and cross-sell them and re-sign new contracts. Like, it's not life or death, is it? I just thought, get stuck in. So that's what I did.
So then early starts, long days, convincing people to buy more photocopiers or have new photocopiers.
I mean, it wasn't a case of like transactional one photocopier. It's more of like 50, 100K deals. Selling to government as well, public sector, which is different than selling to commercial as well. So it's more like it's got more like larger contracts, renew, but then you got more commission if you sign net new deals. So you'd obviously try and go after net new deals as well. So it was like, it's just education, 18 months education in what's good about selling and what's bad about selling. And that's it. And it's an eye opener as well. I won't say the guy's name, but there's a guy in my team who I think is like week 2. He shouldn't have showed me this, but he just won a deal with a big council, and he showed me a commission check of like 52 grand in 1 month, and I was like, that's 14K more than I earned a year in the army. And I was like, what? I was like, I could not believe that was even a thing.
Yeah.
And then what I discovered more and more is, the opportunity to earn and for your effort to directly relate to more money, is absolutely vast in tech. So that's kind of what gave me that bug to go, if I graft and do well and not like get stuck into all this stuff and learn, I could have a pretty comfortable life.
And so did you enjoy the actual selling, or did you enjoy the rewards of the selling, or both?
To begin with, I think I've always enjoyed selling because people, back to the army, like people used to say things to me in the military, like, you could sell out to an Eskimo. Like, I used to get that, but that I don't see tech sales as that. I see tech sales and selling like solutions, like where people are committing large amounts of money. It's about, having a level of integrity, being personable, all the good things that you expect, but it's not like trying to flog someone on a dead horse, right? It's, be empathetic to what and listening to what people want. So it's all the people things that I liked about the job. The money was amazing to begin with. But what I found is the more money you earn, you could keep earning more and more money. And if there's something within you that's like you're not completely fulfilled, you'll go and take risks and do something else and maybe your wife might hate you for it, but you drop a really well-paid job to go and do something else or try and chase something that really fulfills you. So money is, back to the point, selling is, I love it because you get to talk to people and build relationships and, just chat to people and understand what they need. And money is important to me still, like really important. Like I'm definitely money driven in some sense, but fulfillment, I think, trying to find that thing that really fulfills you is
scratching that itch.
Yeah.
Now you've left the army, you've got this new career that you're enjoying, you're making loads of money, but you've got this itch. How is that feeling? Because you've changed your life in quite a short period of time leaving the military, and then to talk us through what happened. Why did you want to
I don't think
changed
I
it?
changed. I didn't change my life to begin with. Like, I took a 14. Funnily enough, 14 took a 14k 13k base drop to go into this role. So I went from earning 38k in the army as a sergeant to earning 25k base with the potential of a lot of commission. I think I doubled in that first year my military wage through doing well selling. But it didn't fundamentally change my life. It just gave me I was all home, gave me the flexibility to do something that I felt that was more suited to me, my personality, what I enjoyed. But that next step for me was getting into software. Again, being the sheep that I am. Thought my brother was in software, and he's like, "Come over here, Ben. This is what you need to go over here." So it was finding the right opportunity for me in SaaS, software as a service, for people who are listening and don't know, to get into that SaaS space to start progressing my career there. So, and I'd say that's probably more of a money decision at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Bigger base, bigger commission, just bigger all over.
Yeah. Big, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've doubled my base first role. Double. Well, my on target was sizable. It's when I started to like get to that 6-figure on target earning kind of realm, and it's just like that opportunity working for a global company. You're dealing with Canadians, US. You're selling to I was selling to people in the Philippines, Singapore, France, Germany. So you're just getting the experience of different cultures, selling to different cultures. Selling to somebody in Singapore is completely different than selling to someone in the UK. Selling to people in Holland, they operate in a different way, really straightforward. We'll tell you how it is. Crude business people. So it's like just having that extra, that notch in my in kind of my armory of just experience. I think experience and more money, which was important.
So how long were you out of the army when you moved into the SaaS sales?
18 months.
18 months.
Yeah.
So in a year and a half,
Yeah.
you've gone from 30 something grand a year in the army.
Yeah.
And now you're in and around the 6 figures in a year and a half.
Yeah, so I was probably near around the 6 figures in my first gig. I think for what I was doing, I was doing all right. But then I guess it was the progression where what I saw in the SaaS space. Like I'd gone from this hardware sell, commodity sell, so I guess less margin, to this software sell for a Canadian company that was global. There was a lot of opportunity to progress, therefore earn more money. So yeah, it was 18 months, and I was on that kind of six figure piece.
And so how long did you do that for?
Well, there's another job in between starting my own business, but I was at that company for 3 years.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it progressed. What happened is I started like in kind of like this transport logistics space, like selling software to your FedExes of the world, your companies with like fleets of vehicles. So we'd be doing like route planning software, stuff I'd never done before. Just like absolutely no cuff too tough, like blagging it until I knew it. And then we acquired a business, or the company acquired a business for 25 million, which was a bit more like an e-commerce. And I was getting to the point where I need more than this. Like I smashed my number the first year. I earned quite a bit of money, and I was like, I need something more fast paced to keep me interested and keep me going. And we acquired this e-com software business, smaller team, that were going to be amalgamated into our business. So they gave me the opportunity to go and sell, be the European sales lead for that business. So that's what I did. I went and got into that business unit while they were there. And that was like fast-paced e-com, fashion brands who are growing super, super fast. So it's, you don't dress in suits. You're speaking to fashion founders, the mid-20s, early 30s, dressed way smarter than I could ever dress. So it's like, again, I was looking for more. I promoted there. I got senior AE there, senior account exec. So it was just that, I think, progression that I was looking for, which is mega. I loved it. Really good time.
And so why did you leave there?
The company that I was working for, when we amalgamated the company, we acquired the company. The head of growth for that company moved on. So did the founder. So I let that team left. I think they must have had like an earn out, and the head of growth went to a startup, 30-person startup in London, and he you know, we just carried on chatting because we'd sold loads together. We'd had a mega time. It's good. And he's like, you know, this is pretty cool. Yeah. Like, he didn't offer me to come there. But I said, you got any positions? Got any positions? And it was a head of sales role. So I was like, you know, I've gone from account manager, AE, senior AE, get into a head of sales gig. It's 3 years after leaving. So I was like, yeah, let's go and give it a go in a startup, which is, you know, for people who have not been in the tech space, you know, the difference between a startup to a scale up to, I mean, enterprise, you could class enterprise, Descartes, that Canadian company, was 1,500 people. You know, you could go and work for a Salesforce or that's enterprise. But the difference between a 1,500 person company and a startup 30 person is just wildly different. So that challenge, you know, excited me. Reporting directly into the founders, co-founders, it's pretty cool.
How long did you do that for?
10 months. And
then that was when you left and started your own.
I got the itch then. I got the itch of like.
Do you think that was being around people who'd scratched their itch and launched something, and you were like, you know what, I want to do my own thing?
100%. Everything that has happened to me is because I've been around people who are 2-3 steps ahead. I'm 100% convinced of that. And I'm like, you know, I can go and smash that out. Like, why can I not go and do that? And then you meet founders and you're working with every day. You're like, you know, I've got something that I feel like I can do and make an impact. You know, why can I not go and do that? So it's just that I really do think it's like that imposter syndrome a little bit. Like, I interviewed a guy called Ian Hogg, who's like the chairman of the WorkTech group. He got out in 1990 and went and worked for Xerox. When Xerox was like the sales organization, you got best training in the world. 3 years later, he did £100 million deal with Sky through his own company. So he negotiated, based on that Xerox training, negotiated £100 million deal with Sky for Sky at the races. He was the first MD of Sky at the races, ex-Navy diver. And he was like, I've never suffered from imposter syndrome. And I was like, fuck yeah, like, I shouldn't suffer from. I feel like you should just go and get stuck into it. Like, it's only yourself saying you can't do it. Why would you do that? Like, they're way smarter than you, or they've got more energy than you, or it's not the right time. You know, you might have a kid again soon, or, you know, there's always something, isn't there?
It's easy to find excuses to not take action.
Yeah,
just get uncomfortable and go and do stuff.
Yeah,
and like,
I'm not going to say the name of my person. I've called it a name. I've called that person a name. I'm not going to say it because it sounds ridiculous, but me and my wife know who that person is. So I'd be like, oh, you know,
so-and-so's been here again.
Yeah. I don't want to offend anyone with a name. I don't know why. I'm going to say
it's not Nick, is it?
No, it's not Nick. I'm fully aware there are probably some lovely Debbies out there. It's called Debbie. I don't know why. I was like, I can't remember what he's originally called. Ian. It's like, Debs is on my back again or something like that. And now it's like, I go on a run and I'm going to do 5K. Or I go on a run, not planning on doing however long. I go for a run and then I'm like, I go right and you can do 10K, or go left and you'll finish at 5K. And you're like saying, so, Debbie, she's telling me to go left. I'm going to go right. I'm going to go do 10. So it's like, I think that little voice, joking aside, on your shoulder, like, it's so easy to get sucked into it. You know, like, my alarm's gone off. I said I was going to go to the gym, but I could just go to the gym tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people in the military are good at kind of getting rid of that noise, I think. But I've had to call it a name. You know, no offense to Devies. I've got some close Devies in my life.
I love it. So tell us about what your itch was and what you started.
Yeah, I think it's pretty evident that there's going to be a digital skills gap. I think there is a digital skills gap right now. You know, Corn Ferry reported in 2018 that by 2030 there's going to be an 85 million person skills gap globally. Now, I think it's something like $8.5 trillion worth of revenue missed. So there's a massive gap, and I'm seeing it across that energy, you know, big companies where 5 to 7 years, 40% of the workforce is going to retire. You know, 80,000 person companies, like, significant problems they're having around pulling talent from elsewhere. I had a lot of friends leaving the military who, because CTP was quite broad, had no way to get into tech. You know, I'm out there earning very good money, like very, very good money towards the end. and I didn't see myself, still don't see myself as like anything special getting out. Like there are so many talented people getting out of the military, so many who could smash any role given the opportunity. And then when they're in that opportunity, they're around people who are that 2 steps, 3 steps ahead. Then they can go and do whatever they want to do. So I had a lot of people contacting me and asking me, I got into engineering, but I feel stuck. I got into this. They said that the banks were going to be amazing. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. How do I get into tech? So I started helping people, and then I started getting a bug for helping people and doing it. And I just felt like there's got to be a better way to help not only veterans and service leavers get into these kind of high growth, high reward roles, not just in sales. In the future we've got some pretty cool plans, but also creating these opportunities for these tech companies to grab these people who are so dedicated, committed, have all these soft skills that just come into a room, read a room well. You go into an office with a colonel versus going to an office with some lance jacks, you know how to act, right? It's like up and down. You understand. You change your whole approach. Just little things like that. I just feel strongly that tech companies just lap these people up. When you get them in front of these tech companies, they're like, they're a bit of us. We want to get some people like this in. So I started the business specifically to do that, to connect tech companies to veterans.
How did you get started? What did you do when you...
Back to the man of action. So I just set up a limited company. I was like, if I set up a limited company, all this putting it off and
then it's real.
It's just done. I made it real. Yeah. So set up a limited company way before I was even going to start the business. Did a little bit of like LinkedIn in just to see if there's a bit of appetite. Then I had an honest conversation with the founders of the business that I was in to say, listen, we'll get you to where you need to be. There was something that they're working towards. They're working towards a raise. I work, till my last day, getting you to where you need to be. But at this point, I want to go and do this myself. So I just went and committed to the work I was supposed to be doing, but then jump ship and set up on my own. Luckily, I'd been quite successful in sales since I started. So rather than investing all my money into other people's businesses, I had a nice chunky pot of money in the bank to sink into my own business. So,
how's it going?
It's such a funny question, that, isn't it? How's it going? Because I think as a founder, you never know what to say, because
it's an emotional roller coaster, is my experience. Like the moments when things come together like they're supposed to are like ecstatic. They're just amazing. And then you have the days where things don't pan out how you thought they were going to, and things that you thought you'd planned well, it turns out there was something you hadn't thought of, and the wheels fall off. It's like, that's so disappointing. We put so much stuff. Or it turns out you've blown a couple of grand on something that didn't work out the way you thought it would. Yeah. But it's proper highs and lows. Is kind of how it's been on my side.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't describe it in a better way. It's just all in, aren't you? You're all in. Like everything, you're trying to solve a big problem that consumes you as a person. Like this is all, I'm doing things, I'm taking steps to make sure that it's not all like, I've got 14 month old boy, little lad, amazing wife, going for a spa day on Saturday all day and not just tech work away. Like there are things that I'm trying to do to limit that, all consuming. How do I solve this problem? What's the best way to solve this problem? Is that the right decision? Am I taking risks here? How do we go and raise that capital? Should I raise that capital here, or should I wait and try and drag it out and see, how do I get into this company? What's our ideal client profile? Should I be speaking? I could keep going. Like, what tech do we need to use? Do we need a new website right now? Like all this stuff.
And you lie in bed trying to go to sleep, and you've got a nagging question in your head, and you lie there for 3 hours thinking about it. You're like, I should be asleep because I've got to get up early in the morning because I've got a 14, 15-month-old kid who's going to wake up at 5 o'clock.
My family's livelihoods, right? This is why, I take it really seriously. I have these conversations with my wife all the time, like we're best mates. I take it seriously because I've got one of my best mates working for me, don't work out, he ain't got a job. We're hiring more people, if you don't work out, they ain't got a job. So it's not just, is the business going to work? It's people. I know Henry, who works for me, I know his family really well. Like,
it's a daunting experience the moment you become responsible for someone else's mortgage as well. You're like, well, yeah, I've got my livelihood here, but I've employed this person. They are entirely reliant on the success of this to pay their wages. That I found that really daunting when I first started getting people on payroll.
I'm completely convinced that will succeed, but I guess every founder probably says that. But I am like, with like the energy that I have, and I feel like I can sell, which is such a
it's a useful tool if you're trying to bring money into a company.
Yeah. So I'm selling. Like, luckily I've got that skill. Like, I think there are like two ninja skills like to bring into a business. And I say, like, if you combine them both, if my boy grows up and he can do both of these things, like, he's all right. Can he sell? I hold a room, understand what people need, and can he develop? Can he write code? Can he build? And I don't like those two together. I've met one person who, I won't say his name, an old but big boss. Big boss. He wasn't big. He was just you know what I mean. He could do both, and he was like a killer salesperson, and also spent 10 years developing. And he was just something. When you're in a room where you just I can't even hold a conversation with this guy. Like, it's just another level. I feel like those two skills are pretty good for you when you're in a startup, and I'm lucky to have one, although not that much experience really, 5 years.
But yeah, so that's actually quite a good point about the learning to code, and like any sort of coding. If you were thinking about leaving the army, that would be a really good thing to spend a few hours each evening and develop an additional skill. That's just super useful.
So my wife's a teacher, and she teaches kids the real basics of code, like 5-6-year-olds. So like, I think there's a recognition that it's an important skill. We haven't, I guess at the time of this recording, like, we haven't announced it, but from a platform perspective, we're building a platform at the moment to connect veterans to tech companies globally. We're working with an AI company as well. But a lot of this is, we talk about like grabbing veterans' data and understanding what they need, like their experiences, their education, what they're interested in. And then this middle ground of educate and upskill. So we run our own, we call it a workplace development program, where we get veterans, we make sure they've got the aptitude to sell. Then we put them through an 8-week course with a number of partners, as well as ourselves delivering stuff. Then they go into employment. Aside from that, we've got our partners. We're building partnerships up with upskill organizations. So we don't in particular work with recruiters as such. We work with organizations that are going to, same as our development program in sales, they're going to get these people, make sure they've got the aptitude to learn the skill, and then get them into employment. So, a big one for us is full stack developers, front end developers, back end. So we've got partnerships soon to be announced with organizations that offer that to veterans, and see veterans as a real growth area for their businesses and for their clients. So
it's a long time from making the decision to leave to when you actually leave. And if you're motivated, you can get a lot done in that time. And in hindsight, I wish I'd used that year better. I in no way made the most of that. And I think being self-starting and actually looking at what would benefit you, and having to think about what your life could look like, a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out. And it can be wildly different to your life in the army.
Yeah. I don't think you should be too hard on yourself, Nick. We've got swans on the wall. Like, feels like we're doing all right. Yeah, don't be too self-critical, mate. You've done all right, mate. One of my aspirations is to get swan pictures on the wall. So.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want swans on the wall?
I'm all for it. I'm going to take a picture before I go, because someone wipe and see it.
Brilliant. Now I've gone bright red. So I usually ask people a question about how about giving back to the veteran community and like service leavers. But I mean, your day job now is literally about that. It's like sort of sending the lift back down and saying, come and have a better life. When you've done your time, however long that is, there's a fantastic world of opportunity out there for you. And I don't think people realise. Because like the news is full of people with veterans with PTSD, veterans committing suicide, veterans who are homeless. They're all real problems, but it's not the whole story. There's like, so we met through the veteran entrepreneurs group, and that is an incredible circle of people who've done incredible things. And that was the whole idea of starting this podcast, was to like have conversations like this, and then people who are leaving the military can have ideas and get inspiration and see that, well, you know what, this could be really good in like your sort of your second career. So I think what you're doing is really incredible.
I think it's important to note that we're not a social enterprise or a charity, though. Like, there's still my business head on that I want to grow a super successful but impactful business, like something that's going to make a difference. And I don't know why you have to. I don't know why you like got. I feel like you get this need to guard against that, to say, you know, I want to grow a business that's, you know, we grow it to X amount and hopefully make a big difference. You know, aside from, you know, maybe a fashion retailer who grows a £500 million business but has sweatshops in India and Sri Lanka, and you feel like you got to guard against the fact that you are a for profit, but we are, because I you know, I've got other things that I want to do in my 40s. Is the reality. So I want to build this business, bring people along that are absolutely on board. You know, bring people that can also benefit from what we're doing as well in the long run. And yeah, like do something pretty incredible. Maybe not just in the UK, you know, across different regions as well in the future. So we've got some big plans.
If you could give a piece of advice to someone who was just coming into their last 12 months in the military, what would that be?
I think the biggest challenge is over choice. Like, you know, everyone, this transition piece is like, you know, hey, I don't think there's a lack of opportunity. I think it's just like people are just throwing opportunities at you in different sectors, and you're going on all these job fairs, and there's just so much to try and figure out. So I think it's just really boiled down what you enjoy doing. You know, people might be going into cybersecurity. I'm not knocking cyber. I think it's awesome, but let's just use that as an example. Your mates might be going into cybersecurity, but do you like sitting in front of a computer? It might be trendy to become a full stack developer, but you know, that's maybe 100% of your time, majority of your time spent in front of a computer. Or do you not like speaking to customers? Do you not like speaking to people? Are you quite an introvert? Should you be going into sales or customer success? So it's like really just trying to figure out what you enjoy. Tech doesn't need to be coding. If we're talking about tech specifically, doesn't need to be coding. A lot of people I know, the majority I know, don't know how to code. There are all different types of roles that you can jump into, and with a lot of transferable skills. So it's just kind of understanding where you fit in, I think.
What's a typical day look like for you these days?
Pretty set. So we've had 12 months of a new baby, so it's been pretty carnage for that. It changes things a little bit. For me, I get up at 6 most days, unless my son's going to nursery. He goes twice a week. So I get up at 6, go and do some phys in the morning, go to the gym, to try and stay fit. Because when I started the business, I was like just grinding long hours out. So pretty regimented with that. I'll then get into never-ending calls all day, which is self-induced. So just end up either speaking to service leavers. Number one thing for us is every decision we make needs to make sure that we're kind of offering a good service to service leavers, because that's the reason why we're doing it amongst the business side. So we speak to service leavers, companies. I speak to a lot of tech companies. You know, we're speaking to investors at the moment, so I'm looking at investment, that route. Then lunchtime, I've got like a CTO in the business who's not actually in the business yet, so not many people know that. But he lives near me, so we go on a run at 12 o'clock ish. Normally, go and do 5 to 10k at lunchtime. That normally clears my head. Then I'll normally grind out the rest of the afternoon on calls. Try and get a bit of project work in. Try and get in most days to bath my son. It's important. Sometimes get to have dinner, but at the minute it's busy. And then just go back to work, unfortunately, which is terrible. But not weekends. I'll try and eliminate the work at the weekends. But normally I'm putting a good shift in. Getting to bed. I've got a journal. I'm not ashamed of it. I like to write down what I've achieved for the day, what I want to achieve, 3 things the next day. And at the minute, I've cut out sugar in my diet. So I do a little tick that I've cut out sugar. I've cut out alcohol and sugar for, 18 days. Don't feel any different. Probably going to start again soon. I usually try and reflect because it's another habit I used to do a lot and don't do it as much. And I always try and squeeze in either a bit of podcast or I'm reading an awesome book at the minute called Build. So I try and get a bit of reading in as well.
You're pretty consistent on LinkedIn, posting really often.
Yep.
So I would definitely recommend people follow you on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
Ben Reed, Redeployable on LinkedIn. And what's your website for your company?
So by the time this comes out, it'll be redeployable.io. We're shifting our whole business. The first 7 months of our business was to prove that there was a really strong model here. We've had some awesome success stories, built some awesome partnerships, and now it's all about developing a platform to launch in May to do this at scale, educate service leavers and connect them to amazing opportunity at scale. So,
have you got a success story you could share as a sort of?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've got Tom Bennett. Got into Rolls-Royce aircraft tech, so I know him from serving. Stagnating. He got to the peak of where he was at. Comfortable. Needed something else. He's now just promoted to an account executive. So he's been in role for 7 months and is now an AE. High flyer, works hard, just smart guy. Kaylee Lewis, lovely lady. 12 years as an RMP. She's now the sales and partnership manager at Sparklayer. Bobby Lower, Ruben Jones, both at Exceed. One's an account manager, one's a business development manager. Got loads of BDRs in Aaron Lovering. We've got software implementation consultants, Kyle Lawton, Mike Craycroft, ex-JTAC, BDR in London. So there's loads of different.
Amazing.
We try and we don't just help them into roles and say see you later. That's not what we're all about. So we have a mentorship program. Every person that we work with in the last 7 months have mentors. We have a coffee call every 2 weeks. It's a bit of a therapy session where we bring experienced people in. Got a community platform. So everything we're building is not just about revenue. It's about trying to create this ecosystem of amazing folk who all help each other as well.
So if people are leaving, they should get in touch with you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's not a get in touch with us because you most definitely want to get into tech. Get in touch with us. Doc's an absolute legend. Have a chat with Doc about the industry, about what it's all about. He can connect you with veterans already in the industry. We've got a podcast. There's all sorts. You can just go and learn and get yourself into a position where you know what you want to do before you.
Where can we find your podcast?
Spotify, Redeployable podcast.
Perfect.
Nowhere near as professional as this. This is something else.
Ben, it's been awesome to have you on today.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure, mate. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. I'm sure you'll agree the stories from the guests on the show are incredible. Starting your own company is an incredibly brave and difficult thing to do, and there's a theme of resilience through all these stories, which is key to success as an entrepreneur. If you're a veteran with a good story to tell, we'd love to have you on. If you're leaving the military and you want to get in touch, email podcast@littlebigtech.co.uk. If you run a business and you're looking for an IT company that's entrepreneurial and forward-thinking, please do get in touch. I hope you enjoy the rest of the series.